So the title is Ruminant Abortion in Australasia, Economic Impact, Diagnosis and Prevention. Since I'm a clinician, not a lab scientist, so I'd like to speak more from the perspective of someone doing field investigations and how you can best work with the laboratory to reach a diagnosis.
Oke, jadi beliau ini banyak bekerja di lapangan, jadi bukan laboratorium. Jadi saya kira pengalaman lapangan beliau yang akan dia ceritakan.
I wanted to show the major interest I have now, our company, Veterinary Livestock Services. We manage the health and welfare of Australian cattle being exported around the world. In particular, we send cattle to, if I can get this to work. I need the laser. Of course, Indonesia is our biggest customer for mostly beef cattle, feeder and slaughter beef cattle, some breeding cattle as well. We send breeder cattle to China, and we should start sending feeder cattle to China when they solve some problems of currency. We send goats and sheep to Nepal and China, cattle to Turkey, Kazakhstan, Russia, dairy cattle to Sri Lanka, and I forgot to put a star, but we send a lot of goats and sheep to Malaysia, both breeder and slaughter animals.
Ya, jadi perusahaannya ini banyak ya ekspor ke Indonesia. Sehingga Indonesia konsumen terbesar dari customer yang paling besar. Kemudian dia kirim juga ke Cina, kemudian dia juga mengirim domba dan kambingnya, jadi goat and sheep ke negara tadi ke Nepal, kemudian ke Kazakhstan segala macam gitu ya. Jadi, ya, okay.
So I want to apologize in advance. Unfortunately, I will have to leave quite early today because this ship here, the Finola, is leaving Australia soon for Indonesia, maybe Cilacap. So this is the reason for my problems right now.
Oh ya, dia nanti akan mungkin meninggalkan lebih dulu karena dia ada kapal pengiriman yang ke Cilacap.
And this is another shipment of Brahman feeder cattle from northern Australia. This is the vessel Dareen. Some of you may have seen this vessel. Okay, so this is the general outline of my presentation today. Talk about the economic importance of abortion diseases. Then I'll just overview of a few of the major diseases of cattle, a few of the major diseases of sheep and goats, my approach to diagnosis of abortion, and then finish up with some prevention, the general principles that can be applied to any situation.
Oke, jadi ini adalah outline presentasinya dari mengenai kepentingan ekonomi tentang abortus pada ruminat, ya, kemudian penyakit-penyakit yang ini mayor di bidang sapi, kemudian di kambing dan domba, kemudian nanti adalah pendekatan diagnostik untuk abortus dan bagaimana pencegahannya secara umum.
So starting out, I'm not familiar with the economics specific to Indonesia, but I think we can generalize across the world to say that abortion is a very costly problem in ruminants. It's very common and very expensive. So from the literature, I looked at the estimated cost of a single case of abortion. So, for example, in California cattle, This would be dairy cattle. One abortion would cost the producer $700 US. All of these figures are US dollars. In England, they said, okay, the cap is $407, and then $1,000 to get rid of the cow. Another England study, $827, the cost of one case of abortion. And for sheep, it's essentially the cost of one ewe. So the estimates are anywhere from $26 to $85, depending on the breed and some other specifics.
Oke, jadi ini adalah perdugaan apa namanya ekonomi kehilangannya. Jadi dia tidak tahu dan di Indonesia berapa, tapi ini adalah contoh-contoh di California misalnya kehilangan satu akibat abortus itu $700 US, ini semuanya dalam bentuk dolar ya. Di Inggris segala macam gitu. Kemudian untuk sapi untuk domba di UK misalnya 26 sampai $85 gitu. Jadi ini adalah kerugian ekonomi yang mungkin kita juga belum berhitung ya. Jadi Indonesia mungkin perlu muncul berapa sih kerugiannya ini ya. Jadi kalau tadi bicara ngomong-ngomong, saya perlu terjemahkan begitu atau tidak usah? Kalau iya, kalau perlu maksudnya kalau tidak mengganggu ini nggak apa-apa. Diterjemahkan seperti itu nggak apa-apa. Oke, bisa saya terjemahkan. Oke.
Okay, in this slide, those previous estimates were single cases. But when you think of in terms of an abortion storm, where you could have as many as 30% of your herd have an abortion at one time, the economic cost is almost impossible to imagine, because you're losing the babies. You're also probably losing some mothers, or you should call them, because they have disease. You're contaminating the premises for years to come. And most importantly, you're disrupting your breeding program or the pattern of breeding. And the effects will continue for years. So it's not a matter of just picking up the pieces once.
Baik, jadi kerugiannya mungkin kita belum berhitung ya. Kalau kelompok terkena segala macam gitu, lebih berat lagi. Kerugiannya itu tadi kehilangan anaknya, kemudian induknya kadang-kadang itu harus dikali gitu ya karena penyakit, kemudian juga merusak program breedingnya. Ini jelas-jelas nih populasi kita terhambat, ini alasan yang sangat kuat sekali sebetulnya. Jadi breedingnya terganggu gitu ya, dan memang terus efeknya ini kadang-kadang juga masih beberapa tahun ke depan. Jadi memang itu barangkali kerugian ekonominya yang perlu kita pikirkan.
For example, this year we had a customer in Vietnam buy 2,000 breeding dairy heifers, and out of 2,400 had an abortion. So we estimate the total cost of the lost productivity, the lost cattle, the lost babies, would be something like $250,000 US.
Oke, jadi di Vietnam contohnya jadi sudah menghitung 2.500 ya, tadi $2.500 US kerugian yang ditimbulkan. Oke.
So I've stolen these slides probably from someone in this room. This is from the FAO regional workshop on Brucella diagnosis and control in Asia Pacific region. I just wanted to see for myself the population of ruminants in Indonesia. And as you all know, you can see the beef cattle, goats, and sheep are the most important. Dairy cattle are of minor importance here.
Ya, ini adalah gambaran populasi. Kita yang tahu saya kira ya, jadi ada sapi potong, kerbau dan lain sebagainya yang paling penting apa saja. Mungkin dia menganggap kita menganggap sapi perah kita emang kuning sedikit ya, memang kenyataan seperti itu. Saya kira populasinya yang warna kuning tadi ya, sapi perah dari kettle ini memang masih. Beliau menganalisis ini belum yang utama gitu. Padahal memang kenyataan seperti itu ya, kira-kira belum menjadi produk utama yang kita harapkan. Okay.
And I want to interrupt to say that if someone's not understanding me, please feel free to ask for a better
Yeah.
explanation. We have plenty of time.
Okay. No problem. They can ask directly.
And as you, of course, all know, according to the OIE, there are many diseases present in Indonesia, notifiable diseases. We were discussing this at break. Anthrax, brucellosis, of course some of these are chicken diseases, but those would be the big ones. Tenderia. So Indonesia has just about every disease known.
Oke, jadi Indonesia ini penyakitnya banyak ya, dari disampaikan oleh Dr. Richard tadi kan ya, 25 penyakit strategis yang menjadi prioritas, itu menjadi prioritas, yang lainnya saya kira masih banyak ya, di luar ruminan tadi kan ya, banyak juga. Oke, next.
So of course, ruminant abortion can be caused by so many different things. There's both infectious causes and non-infectious causes. And under infectious, we have bacterial, viral, fungal, and protozoan. For non-infectious, think simple environmental stress, heat stress, trauma like transport, genetic factors that we don't understand completely, nutritional problems, and then toxins from the environment or from the feed.
Ya, ini adalah beberapa penyebab abortus, jadi dibedakan menjadi infeksius dan non-infeksius. Yang infeksius saya kira penyebabnya ada bakteri, ada virus, jamur, protozoa, gitu. Kemudian yang non-infeksius ya itu heat stress, ya panas, trauma, misalnya karena transportasi, genetik yang belum banyak dikenali, kemudian nutrisi dari toksinnya dan lain sebagainya. Itu memang banyak. Okay.
So I'm going to focus on infectious causes of abortion because it would take 5 weeks to talk about everything.
Okay, dia akan mempresentasikan fokus ke penyakit infeksius saja. Okay.
And here is a partial list. I would say these are common causes of abortion.
Ya, ini penyebab umum dari abortus
Hello?
juga.
It's back. Okay, common causes of abortion in cattle. Of course, you can probably think of 20 diseases that I didn't list, but these are considered common differential diagnoses.
Ya, ini adalah untuk beberapa penyebab dan beberapa diferensial diagnosis dan sebagainya. Ada bakteri, virus, jamur, dan protozoa, macam-macam ini. Oke, next.
So I don't want to talk too much about brucellosis because we have real experts here speaking about it. But just as a quick review, caused by Brucella abortus, usually. There are other species, but that's the one that mostly concerns us. The epidemiology is usually ingestion of infected fetal material. And the typical clinical signs, abortion about 7 months, and in an abortion storm, up to 80% of unvaccinated cattle can have an abortion.
Oke, jadi brucellosis dia merasa bahwa ahlinya ada di sini yang bicara ya, penyebabnya saya kira banyaknya Brucella abortus, kemudian penyebarannya saya kira melalui ingesti dan dari fetal yang terinfeksi ya. Kemudian tanda klinis yang paling sering adalah abortus ya, kira-kira di atas 7 bulan ya. Ini bisa sampai 80% ya pada hewan yang tidak divaksinasi. Nanti silakan. Okay.
I'm curious, has anyone here in this room had brucellosis?
Dia ingin tahu ada punya brucellosis, pernah pengalaman ini? You have some experience with Brucella, ya? Bu siapa Bu? Dari mana sih Bu? Bu Rini, ya. Yeah, she has experience because she worked as disease investigation center also.
And you were sick from the laboratory.
No. I mean not human brucellosis, but
I was wondering if anyone here has
no.
become sick from brucella.
No.
I could say I had brucella in Africa, even though I don't remember having any direct contact with fetal membranes in that time period. It's thought that in the dry environment, it can be aerosolized in the dust.
Jadi dia punya pengalaman brucellosis di Afrika, ternyata lewat aerosol, lewat udara ya.
It wasn't very nice. I don't recommend. And we already saw this slide today, but I was interested to learn how the prevalence of brucella is extremely variable even within Indonesia. Some islands are free, some islands have a relatively high prevalence. It's obviously extremely difficult to control traffic between every single island. So it is a really challenging environment here.
Di Indonesia saya kira dia sudah tahu juga, tadi ada yang mempresentasikan Ulimce ya, memang beberapa pulau yang belum bebas segala macam, jadi masalah transportasi, ya ini tantangan gitu. Ya, ujungnya tantangan buat kita nih, ini kita ditantang nih. Oke.
So of the participants here today, is there anyone from this area?
Ada yang dari NTT?
So you're the expert. This slide represents about 80% of what I spend my time doing is taking blood samples and sending them to the lab. These were blood samples, serology for brucella for cattle going to Russia.
Ini pengalaman dia bagaimana mengkoleksi darah ya, kirim ke laboratorium, kerjaan biasa hari.
As you can see on the slide, probably the best diagnosis is serology in terms of being practical. You can also do immunofluorescence on the placenta. You can try to isolate the bacteria, but on a commercial, realistic point of view, you want to be using serology.
Ya, jadi berbagai macam teknik, tadi serologi, MRT, kemudian dari placenta, isolasi bakterinya, dan mungkin ya Anda lebih senang serologinya ya nanti. Oke, serologi.
I'm happy to say Australia has been declared by the OIE to be bovine brucellosis free, although Russia still requires a blood test.
Oke, jadi Australia bebas ya dari dinyatakan bebas dari OIE dari brucellosis.
However, we still do have some small amount of Brucella suis and possibly melitensis, although you don't see it as a clinician, it's a wild pigs.
Ya, dia masih ada Brucella melitensis dan Brucella suis ya di wild babi mungkin apa tadi.
Another disease of economic importance for abortion would be leptospirosis. They keep reclassifying it, but the Hardjo and Pomona are probably the ones that we encounter most in our travels with cattle. The typical clinical presentation is a last trimester abortion, and on a herd level, you'll see reduced conception rates, and that's caused specifically by Hardjo bovis.
Oke, jadi ini leptospirosis ya penyebabnya kira-kira berbagai macam, tapi yang sering adalah Hardjo dan Pomona tadi. Mungkin nanti silakan dicek lagi Bapak Ibu yang tahu lebih jauh. Kemudian dia bisa berasal dari makanan dan air yang terkontaminasi. Kemudian juga kejadian abortusnya last trimester, jadi 3 trimester terakhir ya untuk terjadinya abortus.
Fortunately, it's easy to treat, and for most of our export work, we have a choice. We can either test or we can just presume that it's present and treat. So we do oxytetracycline 20 milligrams per kilogram once. At this point, it's cheaper than testing.
Nah, ini jadi pengalaman dia, ini sebetulnya gampang ya, gampang dites, kemudian juga dapat diobati dengan ini cepat ya, treatment dengan oxytetracycline 20 mg per kilogram. Nah, jadi ini bisa ditangani lebih efektif.
For a farmer, I definitely, particularly in dairy herds in particular, would recommend vaccination every 6 months. There's a number of good vaccines that are well proven.
Oke, jadi sebenarnya tersedia ini untuk petani ya dilakukan vaksinasi setiap 6 bulan. Ini jadi cuma pertanyaannya apakah kita ke sana, nanti kita diskusi terakhir ya. Oke.
And this is a disease, I don't know if it's really seen very often in the humid areas. When I lived in America and was practicing in the Midwest, this is moderately common. Listeriosis, it's associated in particular with round bales of hay, those big bales wrapped in plastic. I've never seen a case that didn't involve the wrapped round bales. It usually causes neurologic signs, but it can cause last trimester abortions as well.
Oke, listeria jadi salah satu penyebab yang lain, saya kira penyebab apa bisa dari kontaminasi makanan ya, kejadiannya sporadik ya, kemudian juga abortusnya saya kira last trimester, jadi ini 3 trimester terakhir ini kejadian abortusnya. Oke.
And this is kind of a quiet problem. It's not very dramatic, but Truparella pyogenes, formerly known as Actinobacter. What's the old name? Arcanobacter. Yes, Arcanobacter. For people who are as old as me. This usually just presents as sporadic abortion, so it can be confused for just normal, usual happenings. But a bigger sign is you'll see widespread endometritis in the herd. So you see reduced fertility and some vaginal discharge. So the abortion itself usually is so sporadic nobody notices, but when you start seeing a high prevalence of endometritis and occasional abortion, it's worth investigating this problem.
Oke, jadi menarik sekali Truparella pyogenes ya penyebabnya ini. Ini tolong dicek nanti yang bekerja di bidang ini. Kemudian abortusnya sporadik memang ya, jadi pada kebutuhan 6 bulan. Kemudian tanda-tanda klinisnya tadi kalau memang banyak kejadian endometritis dan abortus, ini harus dicurigai ke arah sini. Jadi banyak sekali ya penyakit yang harus di Indonesia, banyak sekali endometritis, kemudian kejadian abortus. Nah, salah satu yang perlu dicurigai adalah ke arah sini. Okay.
And the treatment is quite controversial. You can read 100 different opinions about what the best thing is. The old method was to infuse oxytetracycline into the uterus. Then there was a school of thought says give prostaglandin 1 or 2 times to clean the uterus. Probably the most modern peer-reviewed research recommends intrauterine cefaclor. I think the brand name is Metricure.
Oke, jadi pengobatannya memang kontroversi ya, tidak ada macam-macam, ada teknik dengan memasuk antibiotik intrauterin, saya kira tadi katakan masukin ke dalam uterus, kemudian atau juga dengan menyuntikkan prostaglandin. Jadi kita prinsipnya kalau endometritis biasanya pakai prostaglandin supaya ada kontraksi ya, estrus keluar ya ininya semuanya, dan itu bisa dilakukan. Jadi kalau mereka tadi menggunakan sebenarnya ada Kalau ada obat yang langsung tuh ada Metricure itu, jadi langsung ke dalam uterus, intrauterus. Ya.
And then vibriosis, this is a problem in northern Australia, particularly in old bulls that aren't closely managed. So we do a fair amount of tests of bulls. It's a sexually transmitted disease, and it causes abortions from 5 to 8 months of gestation. Generally, we take a preputial swab from bulls and just look for it with a microscope.
Oke, ini vibriosis, jadi Campylobacter fetus generalis ini ditransmisikan tadi melalui pejantan ya, perkawinan, kemudian dia menyebabkan abortus itu 5-8 bulan. Jadi kita ambil swab dari jantan tadi ya, dari preputium itu, kemudian dilihat di bawah mikroskop ya.
So in the context of live export, it's of vital importance to make sure all the bulls that you import are tested for this.
Ya, jadi bull pejantan-pejantan yang penting ini perlu dites ya. Nah kita di lapangan apakah dites tidak, ini problem lagi, di problem Indonesia lainnya. Another problem my country. Okay.
I just put this picture in because I like this cow.
Ya, letakkan ini gambar karena dia suka sapinya ini. Why do you like this? So,
she looks very fat. I think because we had some years of drought, so in this region, 2 years ago driving, you would see just skeletons and no grass, and now it's good to see healthy animals.
Oke, jadi biasanya kalau nggak ada rumputnya, sapinya kan kurus-kurus ya, kelihatan BCS-nya berapa gitu. Ini kelihatannya gemuk, makanya dia suka gitu ya. Mungkin dari NTT tadi banyak sapi, walaupun kering, sapinya mesti gemuk-gemuk Pak ya. Oke.
And then this is a kind of silent cause of abortion. It's really not well understood, but mycotoxins, or the toxins produced by fungus, such as Aspergillus, they can cause abortions, but it's very hard to prove. It's very hard to study. There are over 500 known toxins, so it is so expensive if you want to do 500 tests. It's better just to avoid moldy feed. And one of the distinctive signs is the placenta has a leathery appearance. So when you see that, that's maybe a signal to consider this as a cause.
Oke, jadi akibat jamur ya, ini mikotoksinnya. Tapi karena mikotoksin segala macam jenisnya tadi banyak ke 500 tes, jadi tesnya nggak efektif, jelasnya 500 yang harus dites. Tapi